Hey there survivors, how's it going? Welcome back to ARK Survival Evolved. Today I'm going to share 10 hidden base locations on Aberration, aimed mainly at solo or small tribe players. All work on official as always. Well, please remember to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and let's jump into the video. Alright, so this first location's around 43.0, 35.1. Now I'm going to start off the video with a few starter locations and then work up through later game locations further through the video. So you're basically looking for this metal structure. And I showed you the coordinates at the other side on the bush because there's an entrance there as well, but you can get in through the top here on this part. And there is a good bit of room in here to start off with. And then this is the other entrance through the bush where I showed you the coordinates. But nice early game little spot to come. And you can't place triangle foundations or anything on the bank going up. The trick is to just put it on some of the wall parts. You could put some triangle foundations and then just build either ceilings or triangle ceilings from them. But you can make quite a few levels because of the space that you've got for the triangle ceilings. So then I guess you could just ladder or ramp up to the different levels if you really wanted to utilise the space more. And if you do get some turret coverage in there as well, it's going to kind of stop people who aren't really prepared properly to raid it from going in there. So yeah, not a bad location for a little early game setup. Well, let's head over to the next location. Alright, so this next location's around 51.4, 27.2. And this one's another starter location as well, just in this structure. It's quite well known about, but I swear the crack on this side used to be a crouch entrance, but now you can just run through it. Or I might just be remembering wrong. It's been a while since I've used this location. But you got a nice flat floor and then plenty of space if you wanted to build up vertically and make multi-layers of stuff. But because this is quite well known about, then I probably would just use this as a little starter location. I have seen people build massive turret towers and stuff in here, but because of the lack of space, it's just really easy to rocket run. So this side is still a crouch entrance, but the other side you can just run through freely. So yeah, nice easily accessible early game spot where you're just going to be nicely hidden until someone finds you. Right, let's head over to the next spot. So this next spot's around 23.2, 52.6, and this is going to be the last easily accessible early game spot. But it's just a crack in these rocks and you can get to it easily from the floor. It's quite a mad little spot really, because you've got this area down here at the bottom which is, you know, a pretty decent size for a little starter base, etc. And no restrictions for building. As long as you level your foundations well, you can get quite a lot of square foundations here as well. But then towards the back, this spot just kind of goes up and up and up. So if you wanted to, you could get really creative with your building up here. Build loads of levels up here and just have the complete ground plastered with turrets and defences if you really wanted to stay for a long time in this spot. But because it's easily accessible from the ground and it's not the smallest entrance, then, you know, you are going to have soaker problems, etc. So it's up to you really, depending on what server you play on and if you think that this spot is viable or not. Well, let's head over to the next base location anyway. Alright, so this next location is around 46.7, 65.4, and it's above the blue zone. And it's just a little ledge under these rocks. Well, it's not that little, that's actually a half decent size. But you've got quite a lot of room here for crafting and a little bit of breeding, etc. There's also another hole that goes through here, but I wouldn't exactly call this an entrance to get into here because it is so glitchy. You got to crouch to get back through, but then whenever you try and walk up through it, you normally just get stuck. That's why I normally use a chair. You can get up there with a little bit of wiggling, but it's not very reliable. As you see, I nearly got stuck then, but there we go. I actually finally managed to get up. This back ledge though is actually quite a decent size as well, so you could either utilise this as well, or if you like the look of this area as a base location, you could just use this one instead. It does have like this little cubby hole back here which you could hide a generator nicely down and then run the cables through, so that keeps your generator lovely and out of the way of everything. It doesn't open up though, it just basically forks into a couple of little dead ends here. Well, that's about enough of that location. Let's head over to the next base location. Alrighty, this next location's around 25.0, 61.6. And when you come here, you're basically looking for these kind of surroundings. And then you're looking for like these routes up towards the ceiling, basically. And then it's through this little gap here. And as you can see, it's right next to the ceiling border as well. And then there's this crack over at the end here. It's a bit awkward to build in, but you do have quite a lot of space if you utilise it properly. And then there's a little dead end down there, so only the one entrance to it. But then you've got this little hole down here, which is quite nice to get started, I guess, and keeps you a bit more out of the way. But then you've got quite a lot of room up here, really, if you wanted to expand upwards. And then, like I showed you, this little dead end bit, you could have another generator and a little row of turrets or something protecting you from multiple angles or something. But being next to the sky border is pretty handy, and you basically just got to protect this crack that I'm going up and down now, because that is the only entrance to the base. So not a bad location, obviously going to be a bit limited for breeding room, etc. But let's head over to the next location. Alright, so this next location's around 41.7, 70.6, and this one's above the blue zone as well. And when you go to these coordinates, you're basically looking for this crack on this rock formation. I just adjusted my gamma a little bit. Yeah, you can see the crack a bit better now. But yeah, when you come up here, then it just opens up a little bit. It's not that much room, but you can make quite a few levels using triangle foundations. Now, this is one of those locations that you can't put the foundations directly on the floor, as you can see. It's just coming up red. But because you can place triangle foundations against that wall, you can basically do the cliff platform trick where you put a triangle foundation instead of a cliff platform, put a ceiling, pillar down to the floor, and then snap foundations to the pillars. And then you should just be able to snap the foundations to each other if you find the right spots. Obviously I didn't really find the right spot there, but oh yeah, I got a pillar here on the floor. So yeah, just showing you I can snap foundations to the ground. So just need to experiment with your positioning. So not a bad little space if you just want to get a little base somewhere. You could do some basic breeding with some small dinos as well. But yeah, you're nice and tucked away. Anyway, let's head over to the next base location. Alright, so this next location's around 41.8, 54.9. And when you come here, you're basically looking for this big root ledge thing, which leads up into this little crack in the corner. But then it opens up into quite a nice little space. The mesh is a bit weird, but you got enough room for all your crafting stuff and some basic breeding down here as well. But this is a cliff platform trick base. So as you can see, I can't place any foundations anywhere normally, which obviously is always a shame. So need to put a cliff plat just outside the entrance, and then just put a foundation on the edge, and then build some ceilings over to it as far as you possibly can, and then pillar down to the ground. And when you got your pillar snapped, then you should have a foundation snap. You might want to try this in single player first before you actually do this in a base location, as wasting a cliff plat can be pretty expensive if you don't place it right. But then as soon as you get one foundation, you can just ceiling and pillar and go from there. So I'm just going to snap as many foundations as I can down here now. And then in a lot of these places where the foundation's showing up red, you can probably put triangle ceilings there instead, because triangle ceilings seem to fit in a lot of places that foundations don't. So yeah, when you get the foundations placed right, it's surprising how much room you got in here. Anyway, let's head over to the next base location. Alright, this next base location's around 75.7, 40.4, and these last three locations are in the radiation zone. So you've got to have hazmat to come here. But when you come to these coordinates, you're basically looking for this little crack against the crystal ceiling. And yeah, it's not the biggest space, but because it's so out of the way and there's nothing else really up in here, then it just seems like quite a good little spot if you want like a little base and just some basic stuff. But still, you can squeeze quite a few foundations down here. There's no restrictions, so if you fill up the place, you'll have room for most of the stuff that you need. So not a bad little spot. But anyway, let's head over to location number 9. Alright, so this spot's around 65.3, 58.3, and it's in this big metal ramp structure in the radiation zone. So again, you're going to need hazmat here, but you've got quite a lot of space in here. You can only build on like this charred ground, you can't put triangle foundations on the rock bits unfortunately, but still there's plenty of ground to actually build from. You do have quite a lot of room down here for all your crafting stuff and some creatures, and you could tuck your generator down here in the corner for example. I'm not sure if you could just squeeze an indie forge into that bit, you might be able to. I didn't try it when I was in the game unfortunately. But yeah, as you can see, you can utilise the space quite well. It's just kind of a shame that you need hazmat, but again it kind of deters people from the area because you don't get as many people coming down this area, especially looking for bases to raid. So that was spot number 9, let's head over to the final base location. Alright, so this last spot's around 75.5, 41.9. Now this spot I think is pretty well known because I've seen this in a spot location video before anyway, but only this ledge bit. Now this ledge is pretty good location anyway, it's really tucked away, hard to raid, and lots of building room, so you've got plenty of room for all your crafting and breeding etc. But then up in this little bit you've got a crack at the top that you can go through, and I don't know if this is a recent addition from one of the updates, but you've got this huge area over here that you can build at the back. Now I wouldn't advise building back here, but there's also going to be some kill barrier somewhere or another, I just don't know where. But straight up above me is just right to the outside of the world, and straight through this crack over here is right through to the outside of the world as well, as you can see. So if you do raid a tribe living on that ledge as well, make sure to check these back mesh areas just in case they got anything built here as well. And I'll just remind you again that you're in the radiation zone in this area too, so wear hazmat if you're going to come here looking for a base location to build. Alright survivors, well that was 10 hidden base locations on Aberration. I hope you found this useful and there was a location to suit your space requirements and needs. Well, thanks for watching. Like, sub, share, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye for now. Peace.